today. My name is Shirley Newsom, and I am a home care worker, and I make the minimum wage. People like me, we work very, very hard every single day. Some days we work long hours, we take up overtime. We do everything that we can in order to provide for our families. I just want to briefly talk to you today about my job. I love what I'm doing. This is what I feel good about doing. I'm helping people. I'm taking good care of people. I'm doing things that they need to have done every single day. While at times it can no doubt be difficulty. It can be demanding. And also, it provides me with pleasure just knowing that I am helping someone that cannot help themselves. It's very fulfillment. And then at the end of the day, I feel that I've done a great job and I've helped someone that cannot help themselves. When I first started this job, I realized it didn't pay a lot, but I said to myself, I need to do a job that is going to be meaningful, helping someone. I had no imagination that this job would be so fulfilling. Even though it doesn't pay the amount of money that I need to do what I need to do, pay my bills. I just cannot make ends meet. But at the same time, I still show up every day doing a very hard job, something that a lot of people probably wouldn't even think about doing, but it's an honest living. I'm making a living. I'm doing what I have to do in order to stay. Here's what's happening. I get to spend my days helping those who cannot help themselves any longer and ensure that they also maintain some sort of dignity in their lives. Because after all, we all are going to get old, and they need dignity as well as us. They feel good living in their homes, and I appreciate the fact that they even have me there. Thank you so much. Speaking of dignity, that's why I'm here. I'm here asking today for that same thing, dignity. I spend my days working to ensure that same thing. We are not asking for a handout. What most Americans are asking for is just a little bit more. We don't want charity. We want to work for a living. That's the American way, is to work. No matter what you're doing, you got to do everything you can to make it a good job, excellent, because there is no menial job, like George says. Every job is important, and taking care of someone that cannot take care of themselves is just as important, as long as you're making a decent and honest day's work. But here's the problem. We're just not getting enough money for doing that. And so, thankfully, Governor Cuomo is not just on our side. He is fighting every single day for people just like me and you. He is fighting for that $15 banner, and he's running with it. He understands the struggle that our families are going through, days and nights that we cannot be there with them. I think it is very clear that he will not stop until a $15 minimum wage is the law of New York. Thank you. Thank you very much. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce a true champion for workers in New York. Thank you. Let me represent Governor Andrew Cuomo.
Thank you. Thank you. Shirley Newsom, let's give her a big round of applause. Thank you for what you do, Shirley. Assemblyman Charles Levine, thank you very much for hosting us today. Let's have a big round of applause for Assemblyman Levine. We have George Gresham in 1199 in the House, a true advocate for social justice, Steve Ballone, our great talented county executive from Suffolk. Pleasure to be with you. My colleagues from the Assembly and the Senate, let's give them a round of applause. Wayne Spence from PEF, pleasure to be with you. Judy Bosworth, thank you. All right, have a seat, please. It is our pleasure to be here. I am so excited. This is our third stop today. We are going to go all throughout the state and organize people and hopefully mobilize people to make their voice heard. When you speak up, the political process listens. When you speak, the political process listens. They teach you in school that politicians lead. Sometimes they lead. My experience is they follow, and they follow the people. You make your voice heard, we're going to win this. This is what it's all about. So it's our third stop today. We have a big recreational vehicle. It's out front if you want to see it. Like a big living room on wheels. Oh, yeah. I'm excited about it. Just got in it today. A lot of words all over. They tell me it's blue and red. I think it's actually blue and pink, but I don't want to say anything to them and upset them. Blue and pink is nice, too. Blue and red would have been better, but can't be picky. And we're going to go all throughout the state and explaining this to people, and I am convinced when people understand what we are talking about, they're going to support it. Because, you know, sometimes the issues are very complicated, and it's about the details, and sometimes you need to know a lot of facts. But sometimes it's very simple. And you can make the decision more here than here. This is about fundamental fairness. That's what this is about. Being fair to people, being decent to people, understanding that we are all one community and that we are connected to each other. And as goes one, goes all. That's what this is about, fairness. Fairness. Something happened in this country. Something happened with the economy. It changed on us. It changed about 30 years ago, and it's been getting worse. The economy's running. We've worked very hard to create jobs. I'm very proud to be able to say we've created more jobs in the state of New York than have ever existed in the history of the state of New York, and that's a beautiful thing. That is a beautiful thing, but those jobs are different than the economy used to be. If you have the right skill set or the right access and you get one of the jobs up at the top end of the spectrum, boy, millionaires, billionaires were making more than ever before. The top earners are making more money at a faster rate. But that's a very small slice of the jobs. And the middle class and the working family jobs, the pay is actually going down. And the respect and the dignity that goes with those jobs is being devalued by this country in this economy. And that is wrong. And it's not last year, and it's not New York. It's been going on. There was almost a one-to-one connection between productivity and pay for the worker. What this nation said is, as the economy grows, becomes more productive, we'll give the workers more money. Why? Because that's fair. Up until about 1973, past 25 years, productivity had gone up 90%. And you know what? Pay went up 90%. From 1973 to now, productivity went up 75%. Pay went up 9%. The work, the concept of work, is being disrespected. You hear the word from Shirley, the word from George, dignity. The concept was there is a dignity in work. And that's what we ask everyone who comes to join the family of New York. We open our arms, we invite everybody in, and we say we'll make one family, a family with people from different races and different cultures and different religions, and we'll all come together. And we'll work together. And you do what you can, and we respect you to do what you can, and you will have the dignity and the respect of work, so when you go home, you will feel good about who you are, and you'll feel good about yourself. We've been taking that from people. FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, great New York governor, great president of the United States, passed the minimum wage law. And you know what the minimum wage law was? Minimum wage law was FDR preserving the respect and dignity of work. He said it should not just be a wage that sustains you. It should be a wage that provides a decent living. A decent living. Federal minimum wage is $7. We raised the minimum wage in the state of New York to $9. But you know what? At $9, the numbers don't work. $9 is about $18,000 a year. You cannot support a family in the state of New York on $18,000 a year. You cannot do it. You certainly can't do it and have any decent lifestyle. You can't do it and pay rent and pay food and pay for clothes. It just doesn't work. The numbers don't add up. So what do? Two specifics that can actually bring a change. Bring us to the place of respect and dignity and the place of aspiration. George was speaking about this morning. Not only is it the respect and the dignity of work, it's what made America, America. It's what made New York, New York. You can come here and you can be anything you want to be. And your children can be anything they want to be. Because that's the dream of New York and America. Only in America, right? Only in America. How many generations came here? Only in America. And they all ask the same thing: let me work. Let me work. Let me go to a school, let me get an education. Let my child go to school and get an education. Let me work. And I can rise above. I couldn't do that in my old country, but I can do it here, and that's why I'm here. That sense of aspiration, that sense of hope, that sense of mobility, that's what it was all about. My grandparents came here, poor from Italy. No rich people came here. The poor people came here. If you were rich in your old country, you stayed there. So we had the poor people come. Southern Italians, who were basically agricultural, they were poor people. But they were dying to come to America. They couldn't speak the language. They didn't know what they were going to do. My grandfather was a ditch digger, just a laborer. Wound up, opened a little delicatessen in South Jamaica, and he had a son named Mario. And he couldn't speak the language, but Mario went to public school. And Mario studied, and he made sure Mario studied, had to work in the store, but also had to study. And his son goes from the back of a grocery store in South Jamaica to governor of the state of New York. What a beautiful place, America. What a beautiful place, New York. And the dream was anyone's son can do that. Anyone's son, anyone's daughter can do that. People don't have that same hope anymore. People don't believe that anymore. They're worried about their own retirement. They're worried about their children. They're worried about their children's education. You take that aspiration away from people, then America's not America, and New York isn't New York. We do two things. One, we restore the dignity, the pride, and the aspiration. And we pay people a decent wage to provide a decent lifestyle, and that is $15 an hour. Now, when they say to you, this is what they're going to say, because this is going to be a fight, my friends. And that's why we're here. And the opposition is already lining up. The opposition is big business, big corporations. They have big resources and big machines, and I can hear those machines turning. And they're saying, well, $15. $15, that's too much. It's too high. Just look at the number, 15. Sounds high, doesn't it? Yeah, it sounds high when they're paying someone else that. When they're paying themselves, it doesn't sound so high. Where did you get $15? This is where we got $15. If you take the minimum wage in 1970 and just increase it by inflation, which is fair, right? Inflation as an accelerator is fair. You take the 1970s minimum wage, increase it by inflation, you come to our proposal for $15. That's where we got $15, and that's fair. They'll then say, oh, this is government meddling in the private marketplace, and government shouldn't interfere with the private marketplace. Oh, really? You want to hear interference? I'll tell you interference. We just finished working with the fast food workers and giving a raise to the fast food workers, and we studied the fast food worker industry. If a company pays a worker the minimum wage in New York, $18,000, they are still below the poverty line, which means they still qualify for benefits from the government. They qualify for food stamps, qualify for welfare, etc. So a McDonald's employee, McDonald's pays them $18,000. You pay them through government benefits an additional $7,000 per year. So the worker winds up making $25,000. New York State taxpayers pay $7,000. McDonald's pays $18,000. We're subsidizing the McDonald's employees. We're subsidizing private sector employees across the board. You want to talk about government in the marketplace? I want to get out of the marketplace. I want to get out of the hamburger business today. I don't want to subsidize McDonald's or Burger King or any corporation that is not paying their employees a decent wage. And why should our taxpayers be having to carry the cost from Burger King and McDonald's? Just Burger King and McDonald's, by the way. Not that I'm angry at Burger King and McDonald's. We're the ones who did it, but just Burger King and McDonald's, you know how much they cost the people of the state of New York for their employees? $700 million a year. How absurd what we're doing. So you say to our conservative friends when they say, well, you shouldn't be in the marketplace. You say, that's right, we want to get out of the marketplace, let the corporations pay a decent wage so we don't have to put the food on the table of people who are getting shafted by the system. And the second initiative we want to get passed this year is something called paid family leave. Paid family leave, along with the disrespect that goes to the worker in this current economy, there's a lack of power that the employee has. The employee is treated more like a commodity. And if you call up your boss in many cases and say, you know, something came up at home, I need a couple of weeks off because I have a problem. A lot of employers will say, you need a couple of weeks? Take the couple of weeks. Take a couple more. Don't bother coming back, as a matter of fact. The worker doesn't have that same power and relationship with the employer that they used to have. So if something happens and you need to do something in your life, because there's more than work, there's something called life, right? And you have to balance the two. You shouldn't have to choose between going broke, losing your job, or doing the right thing at home. That should not be a choice. It can be a bad situation or it can be a good situation. Last year, I lost my father, and we knew we were losing him. He was at home. Surely God bless the home care workers. How you do what you do, I have no idea. But we had him at home, and we knew it was just a matter of time. But those weeks, those months were precious. You know, I talked to my father every day, 4 or 5 times. We were very, very close. So you'd say, well, you know, what else was there to say? You guys talked forever. And we can talk. We both could talk. But you know what? That's the time that you want to be there. If it's just to be in the room, just to hold a hand, just to dry a tear, just to smile, that was the time to be there. And I'll tell you the God's honest truth, I kick myself to this day for not spending enough time there. Because there was always something important, and work was always important, and this was always important. It was all baloney. What was important was to be there then. So it can be a bad situation, or it can be a mother who has a child and wants to stay home and bond with that child, a father who wants to stay home and bond with that child. We're one of 3 nations on the globe that doesn't have paid family leave. The other nations, Suriname and Papua New Guinea, and the United States of America. Who would believe that? We want paid family leave, paid for by the employees who pay into a fund about 70 cents a week, and they can get up to $700 per week in benefits in the first year. You know what costs business? 0. Nada, scata, niente, nulla, whatever language you want, it costs them nothing. It's all paid by the employees. They say, well, they may have to hire someone in the meantime if the person takes off. Fine, but they're not paying the first person, so they wind up neutral. It has no effect economically on businesses, and it makes a world of difference in respect and livability for an employee. That we also have to pass this year. If we do $15 minimum wage and we do paid family leave, we will have done something. We will have changed people's lives, and that's what this is all about. Last point, we named the campaign for my father, Mario Cuomo, who was a big fan of 1199 and George Gresham. And this was the essence of my father. My father was a man of principle above all. And he maintained principles, and he didn't care how tough the fight. He didn't care how tough the opposition. He was going to fight the right fight, and he was going to fight the good fight, and this is the right fight. This is the fight of principle. This is fairness for all. This is opportunity for all. This is mobility for all. This is decency for all. This is New York State. We're not going to treat each other with anything less than total respect. We don't care if the big corporations are against us. We have the people with us. We're going to pass it in the state of New York. We're going to pass it this year. We're going to say to the rest of the nation, it doesn't have to be this way. You can have an economy that works for everyone, where everyone is stronger, and the greatest feast has the most people at the table. That's what we believe in New York, and we're going to make it real here, and it'll be a wave that goes from one end of this country to the other. Your help will make it possible. Thank you, and God bless you.